Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Fantastic Four issue 46. Yes, and I thought this was a pretty good conclusion to Slott's run on the Fantastic Four. It wrapped up everything and put it pretty much back to a kind of status quo enough of where the next kind of creative teams can go and do what they wish. So it will be interesting to see how those puzzle pieces will be picked back up and what will kind of be going on forward. I'm not as versed with this creative team because we're getting like two issues before that we then dealing with like the whole Baxter building kind of scenario that we'll be getting, and then we'll get into like the main creative team taking forward. But I have overall really liked what Slott and his creative team have been able to do with this series so far, and I think this was a nice kind of conclusion here. So we pretty much start out in the North Atlantic, and we see that this scientist is kind of with her own kind of group, trying to figure out what's going on to the ocean because the moon was fucking gone. And that creates fucking problems. They're trying to see if the plankton kind of get back into their kind of groove, but of course they then start seeing all these different kind of things of some waves are kind of going on with Chop, but we see that like it's the Fantastic Four. It's Reed Richards looking for Joanna Jeffers, who is his half sister, and he's like, "Hey, man, I'm a huge fan." Of course, she's like, "You're my half brother. I was wondering when you'd show up," and he's like, "I only learned that recently and everything," and of course. He wants to go take her somewhere. She's like, "Well, you got 4 hours because everything's got to settle from what was going on." And she's like, "All right, where are you taking me?" And of course, he takes her to Yancey Street, and uh, she's like, "It took you months to look me up," and of course, bringing on that they had to deal with alien invasions, clones, the multiverse, and then problem with her brother. They, of course, haven't had any info yet at the moment from the Overseer, but we see that the family is just having a kind of arts and crafts kind of night, which is kind of cool. I mean, Ben's just kind of asleep, but we see that, like, of course, Franklin's able to do his kind of stuff because his whole thing is kind of creative and doing weird, wacky kind of shit with his powers to create kind of all different kind of universes. So, of course, he'd be pretty good at that. And, of course, Valeria is like, that's not something I'm good at. And, of course, Alicia's like, hey, as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. And then even Nikki is getting stuff out of it because she's able to do and figure out certain kind of ways to do things with the clay that they're working with that she wouldn't really think of. Which is good that she's able to kind of be like, listen, I can usually sculpt anything with my body, but you're teaching me to do different kind of things. We then, of course, see that Joe pretty much goes with a precisionism kind of thing from the Kree, and Alicia kind of wants to learn more about that. It's like, all right, that's cool seeing everybody kind of do their own kind of thing. And she's like, "You're already calling me aunt?" It's like, because we got Franklin and Val pretty much calling her aunt. She's like, "You just kind of met me." It's like, we've got a lot of people that we call uncle and aunt and all that kind of stuff. But then, of course, the Overseer pops up and they're like, "Yo, I believe I found a cure, my dudes." It's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of convenient. But the thing is, we need everything back to status quo. So I'm fine with it happening like that. It's not like it's completely nuts. So, of course, Reed's like, "Yo, I can drop you back off at your ship and you can do your thing." And she's like, "What any self-respecting scientist would fucking turn down a trip to outer space?" And of course, he kind of gives her the lowdown of what was going on, and it's actually kind of a nice little way of going back over the things that we've learned over this run without actively being like, "This is how we did it," kind of shit. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, this is Spire and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, bringing up their unparalleled, them being among friends, Ben having this kind of conversation with the, let's see, King Scrum and all that. We get people talking with Sky and Citadel, with Franklin and Val. It's kind of cool. Let's see here. And then, of course, he can like cure or modulate any cosmic ray exposure, which is a big thing for Johnny, but also the rest of the Spirikins. Spirikins? Is that how would you pronounce it? of course, they kind of put him in. He pops off, and thank God Johnny's got some flame-proof shorts on. I mean, it's like, I mean, it's kind of nutty, and I mean, he's been pretty much been burning supernova hot for a while, but they need to fucking give people some of that shit. I mean, because all the shit that goes on in the Marvel Universe, it would, like, I'm not saying it so that way they're rich or anything like that. I mean, they could do that, like, be split because of all the shit that they've got and they can invent. But just people being like, hey, it was just a weird thought that I got. It's like, yes, his shorts have then got me to this. It's like, hey, most of these people could have, like, really kind of, like, more protective clothing on and not have to be like, damn, I gotta get new clothing because fucking goop ass aliens popped off in New York and I gotta fucking either get this goop out or it's bloody or it's burnt or it's just ripped to shreds. It's like, alright. So then Johnny, like, the minute they kind of, like, be like, hey, Johnny's, like, pretty much forgiven everybody. I mean, it's kind of easier, but he was acting more hot-headed, so I consider this more change to baseline Johnny of, like, okay, he, you know what I mean? I'm glad to have him back to being more level-headed. Granted, I don't mind his hot-headedness so much, but he was like, everybody fucking sucks, and it's like, dude, I know you're in a bad spot. I know you got bad shit going on. I know you can't eat a burger without it bursting into flames. I get it. It's bad. Chill a little bit. And I understand I'm not in that situation where I can't eat, can't touch anybody, can't probably piss or shit, or without, like, creating a flammable incident. I get it. But it's just like, ooh, he was dialed up. And then, of course, they asked Ben if he would do the whole thing, and he's like, nah, I'm good with who I am. And then Joanna's like, oh, it must have been nice being a celebrity to be the first one. It's like, I was the test case scenario for, like, that lady that I fucked over there. So she goes, she comes back out, the soul band pops off, and then he gives it to Citadel. It's like, yeah, you guys work, and they, of course, go soulbound. Donnie's like, yeah, I'm just doing what's best for her, and he's kind of sad about it. And then he then takes Joanna to meet the other siblings as they're pretty much ruminating on the fact that their father is dead, but the one dude's like, you see a body? I doubt he's dead. Alright? And then he's trying to be better. He's like, he's had some interactions with his siblings, but he really hadn't put in much of an effort, and he's trying to kind of do that with Joanna. But of course, she's kind of got some, how would I put it, jealous kind of feelings towards Reed because of the famous son part of everything like that. He's like, well, this is the day, this is the hour I'm supposed to die. So he pretty much took the family to pretty much just, like, look at the universe. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. Because he pretty much put everything important. He's like, but I've had everything I've ever wanted as a scientist, everything our father wanted, and it meant nothing if I couldn't see it and share it with everyone I loved, bringing his entire family on an adventure with him. And that's kind of a good thing and kind of gets to the core of the Fantastic Four and what makes them so cool, and I think what draws people together. Granted, they are four people that have been, like, mutated by a fucking crazy thing, but they've made a family out of that, and they love each other, and they do these kind of things, and they want to spend time with each other, even if they have crazy-ass shit going on. And then, of course, they try and get back, but they get wackadoodled with the controls. Sue's able to pretty much protect most everybody except Joanna. She gets kind of knocked out, becomes two, and they're pretty much, they're in the Subatomica. They got pulled into the Microverse. And then evidently it's Psycho Man. He, like, Reed was able to get his emotional control box away from him, but not before taking a full dose of fear and doubt and hate rays. And we then see a really good page of just everything going on. And he's like, he's like, I got this shit. And they pretty much start doing their kind of teaming stuff. And she's like, this is insane. And Reed's like, I hate you. I hate all of you, pretty much. You don't know me well enough to hate me. I hate myself and everything. I was never good enough for him. Good enough? You're the golden boy. It's like, yeah, but see, that's the thing. With an asshole parent like Nathaniel Richards, you'd even still be like, I hate myself because I wasn't good enough. Because you have those asshole kind of parents, and Joanna's like, no, fuck that dude. And that's pretty much all this stuff is like bringing up that he's the favorite, that he'd go back to him, and that he left you the message, not her. And she wants to hate Reed for that, but she doesn't. She hates him. It's like, yes, because Nathaniel makes those choices. And he feels the same way. And then they just both start saying that they fucking hate him. And it's kind of cool. It's like, but you're not. I like you. He's like, oh, I like you too. And then they pretty much captured the Psycho Man. He's like, curse you when I free myself. Which even though it's kind of a trope and a cliche, I always fucking love it when a villain's like, when I get out of here. It's like, nah, you're not gonna Richards me. Like, you're not gonna Richards me. That was Sue. I go by my maiden name. Say, curse you, Storm? That's better. It's just a funny little kind of thing. And then they find out that the thing that the dude was using was actually it's Owen Reese, the Molecule Man. He's like, I'm free now because this fucker was utilizing me as a weird ass. The molecular manservant. I was like, yeah, I'll fix your shit and get out of this. How about this? And then she brings up having an adventure in her world as they then pretty much go back, and he pretty much dresses himself up so that way nobody could understand, know who he is. And then she's going to show him how she saves the world. And the great thing is, even though it would be considered small scale on what they've done, she's bringing up the whole migratory patterns of plankton, and Reed's like, yeah, that's an important thing. The food chain, the entire ecosystem, it seems like a small thing. But when you get that kind of a small thing that fucks over a bigger system, it starts creating more and more cascading kind of events that could just go out of whack and collapse the whole thing. And she's like, you're not just saying that, no, this is important because we're all connected. And I always wanted to go fishing with my, me too. We should do this more often. I'd like that very much, Joanna. I'd like that, Joanna, very much. And it's like a really kind of cool shot to just see that. And it's a really good story of emphasizing the importance of what family means to people. Like, it doesn't just mean blood. It means you go through some crazy ass shit and you help some crazy ass shit and you try and get each other to be and act better, to be the best versions of themselves. Otherwise, it's just people being assholes and being like, I've got the power over you. You don't get that in the Fantastic Four. Yes, Reed might be the smarter one and know how to do certain things, but when he doesn't know how to factor in certain things and work with cosmic rays as much as other people have, like the Overseer, he lets the Overseer kind of help out and help him out with Johnny. He knows how to do those things, and seeing them interact, it's really kind of cool. And I like how we ended like that, and echoing kind of how we began to bring back the Fantastic Four. And I'm like, all right, this is good, and we're almost close to issue 700, so that'd be a big milestone. We'll see how that works out with the Fantastic Four. Yeah, because this is legacy number 691, so we're getting there. So I had fun with Slot's run overall. There were some that didn't work as well for me as others did, but I think overall I had a really enjoyable experience with this, and it'll be interesting to see how the Fantastic Four moves going forward. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.